Thanks for staying with me on Consider This. I'm speaking to educationist Datuk Satinah Syed Salleh. Now, as a council member of the National Education Advisory Council, what do you think are some of the real opportunities for education reform in Malaysia?
Yes.
The most that you think, the biggest opportunity that we have here.
Right. I think first thing we have to put at what is happening now.
Sure.
Is everything is moving so fast. In 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, we don't know what type of job that will be available. So we know English actually is one of the most important aspect that our students must be exposed. We want them to be well versed in English. I think this is the biggest issue in our country still, because our sekolah kebangsaan, the graduates, even our public universities, some of them, they are not able to communicate well. So we talk about education, Melisa. At the end of it, one day, the contents will not be done by us anymore. You know, Jack Ma talk about it. Yuval Harari talk about it. You know, what type of education will happen. But what we need to actually, the opportunity that we need to do actually is to spend more time in giving values to the education. We need to emphasize the importance of values. We need to emphasize the opportunity to have open discussion.
Right. The
ownership between ministry, teachers, students, and community, parents as well. So at the end of it, this job of transforming education cannot be done by the Ministry of Education alone or higher education. It has to be done by parents. You know, this is the biggest issue like Jawi recently.
Right.
You know, I personally believe you must teach Islamic education in the school, but you cannot be teaching the whole too many activities, Islamic activities in our sekolah kebangsaan, then we'll not be able to attract, for example, our non-Malay citizens to come in. These are the things that we feel we must have a school of choice. Sekolah kebangsaan to become the school of choice.
To become the school of choice.
Yes, that is my aspiration actually.
And one way of doing that, I mean the different ways of doing that include looking at the curriculum, looking at teacher quality, and the medium of instruction as
language,
well.
Language as well.
Can I touch on English, because you've been an educator for more than 30 years now, right? You've been with it, you've been in the system, you've been outside of the system.
Yes.
The conversation about English is a perennial conversation, one that we keep coming back to.
Yes.
And now we have the acting education minister, our prime minister is the acting education minister. I'm sure this conversation will come back to the fore.
Certainly, yeah.
What do you make about now? Having said that your position is that you want to see more English, a better understanding about the use
command of the language,
of English. What do you make of the backlash towards you know, the use of English, or the failure of certain policies to implement English as a language in schools?
To be frank with you, Melisa, I am actually looking forward to seeing him, wanting to hear from the Prime Minister, and wanting us to also put forward what we want to say as well. You know, I'm not talking about medium, you know, English as medium for instruction. I'm talking about how we can actually have more English in school. This is my own personal opinion.
More English in schools?
Yes.
In what way?
You can have more periods probably, more subjects to be taught in English. You know, we have the DLP program. But because at the end of it, those that will be losing out will be the Malays from the rural areas. If we don't allow this, they will not be exposed to this. So we have done some sort of a kajian and some sort of survey, you know. Ideas was one of them that did it, and I was also partly involved here, the think tank. And the people in the rural area in Sabah, Sarawak, they want English.
Are there enough teachers to implement this policy?
Yes, that is actually our challenges. Okay. We don't have enough teachers, but when we don't have enough teachers, doesn't mean that we don't have to implement it. We have to do it, and at the same time, we go along in preparation as well. Okay. But now we have technology. Once upon a time, when we did the PPSMI, it was not working very well, because during that time we didn't have that much of technology, even though they were given CDs and whatnot.
Yeah, so one of the drawbacks of that was said that teachers couldn't adapt to the demand of teaching English.
That's right, yeah.
So you're saying now technology has advanced to the point where that will help the teachers as a tool?
As a tool, but at the same time we must also prepare our teachers. It doesn't mean that we we just leave them. Oh no, actually nothing doesn't matter. I had a chat with the current Director General of Education. So I'm excited because I know that she's a brilliant girl. She's smart and she has vision and mission. We were together doing policy.
Okay.
So things that I think she would do that I am very much going along with it. I think allow the more implementation of teaching of English, either DLP or DLP plus or whatever we want to call it, technology. But at the same time, we also prepare our teachers.
Right. Because they are the key, right?
Capacity building is a must. The government must spend enough money for human resource.
Okay.
Yeah?
In the last minute that we have left, Datuk Satinah, can I just get your thoughts on the communication of these the reform agenda in the Education Policy Ministry to all the stakeholders, to parents, to students, to the educators?
Yes.
There's an impatient public out there waiting for reform of the Education Ministry. What thoughts do you have on that?
The reform has been done gradually.
Okay.
You cannot totally reform anything within 6 months. So we have been at this journey. For us and the NEAC, we cannot actually divulge everything now.
Okay.
We need to talk to the minister first.
Right.
We need to get that endorsement, then it will be published. It will be open, and then we'll work on how do we do it best, for our children.
So things are being done behind the scenes, but
Indeed.
unable to be communicated as yet
Not
because
as yet.
you need to review policies.
Yes.
No knee-jerk reactions from the ministry.
And that is a very important thing. And one more thing that I also would like to touch on the PPSMI. People used to say, why is the Tun Mahathir keep on talking about it? Actually, being able to think in English is something as in learning the language itself.
Being able to think
in English
is as important.
Yes, because in the future, you can't think certain things in different language because the language of the future, the language of whatever technology we have is all in English. And then secondly, we also must look at the values. Agama Islam that didn't actually, or values or moral education did not actually really, it was not totally successful, I must say. So they learn agama, but at the same time the practice is totally different thing.
Right.
Integrity.
So embedding those key values.
Those key values, and
education.
also unity. Because in our country we talk about unity as well, integration, social integration, which is, I'm very passionate about it. And digital learning is something else.
Well, you know what? There's so many topics that we need to cover. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this episode of Consider This. But we're going to keep the conversation about education reform going right here on this show. We hope you stay with us. I'm Melisa Idris signing off for tonight. Thank you for watching and good night.
Thank you, Melisa.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.